massive victory for President Trump in voting.
Mr. President. What is the political compass? In the first couple of videos, I gave you guys a glimpse of my personal background, as well as I tried to explain why I'm voting no preference in the coming election. And even I tried to argue why it's a good idea for you to vote no preference in the same way. I also said why I don't think voting for the lesser evil is really as productive as making your choices and objections heard through a vote of no preference. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk about something called the political compass. In the US, national polls show that about a third of the voters lean to the left or are Democrats or support the Green Party. And at the same time, a third lean to the right or are Republicans or libertarians or support the causes of the right. But then there is a whole other third that are simply independents that are sitting right in the middle, and people like myself who don't belong to any political party and don't really like partisan politics. It's how this middle third votes that actually determines politics, and it's the role of party strategists after each primary to bring candidates to the middle in order to win the independent votes. Now, most of the independents hold their nose usually and vote or have basically a single issue that they care about, and they end up voting for the candidate who represents that the most. Of course, I've been vocal again about voting no preference for reasons that I explained in the previous videos. But either way, as an independent, and in order for you to know what your political temperance is, a tool has been created by a group of political scientists called the political compass. After answering a few questions on this tool, it will tell you and place you on a two-axis graph based on your political and economic belief systems, which they interpret based on answers to a specific set of questions. The compass helps you visualize yourself on this graph instead of holding a bunch of abstract ideas in your head. Whereas where you fall on this compass really shows your propensity for economic and authoritarian tendencies in the kind of government that you would like to run or be a part of. The political compass is a simple test that takes only about 15 minutes to complete, but gives you more political insights about yourself than you really ever known before. And it's by no means really perfect, but it's a more objective way of finding about yourself than guessing about the results. And you will likely find the results fairly surprising to you. So I will leave a link in the description of this video to this free test that allows you to find your ideological leanings. Now, I highly recommend that you take it. The questions are simple, at times simplistic, even for someone as agnostic and as precise with meaning like myself. I managed to just actually complete the whole test in 10 minutes. To explain a little bit more, the compass is really divided across two axes. The x-axis is basically representative of your economic tendencies from left to right, meaning how much of a restricted market versus a free market you prefer. And then along the y-axis, we're talking about authoritarian tendencies, in which how much is the role of the government to rule the people versus giving them free choice and liberty. So I took this test, and my test results showed me right here on the two axes. What's interesting is, as expected, I'm really fairly close to the center, and although slightly left and slightly libertarian, still extremely close to the middle. Actually, on the chart of famous people is also provided on the site, you can see that of the several people that are on here, I'm happy to report that I was closest to Gandhi. Thank God I'm not that close to Mussolini, Hitler, or Stalin, which I guess is really not surprising, as I relate very much to moderation as the key to our salvation, as the Buddhists do. Problem here is that the modern world doesn't really reward moderation. Our world appears to be captured by radicals from the far ends of the spectrum. In today's attention economy, it seems like it's really the loudest voices that are constantly registered with the silent majority of people as moderates, being merely stuck in a tug of war between these two extremes at groups. This is really why we need to be radicals in our moderation to mend the chasm that really exists between these two far side radicals, because the silent majority in these kinds of situations is a sign of weakness. And this is really the reason why the middle class has eroded over the years and why we have so much discord. The silent majority lets the major fringe minorities to rule over the majority of people. That's not the way we want to run a proper democracy. So here on the Radical Moderate, my goal is to speak up as an independent and also speak with the moderates. Anyway, be sure to take the political compass test, and also if you get a chance, I would love to hear from you, and if you can actually write down below this video in a comment section what score you got and where you ended up on the XY axis, and did you find that in any way surprising. And the next few videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into some of the ideological bases of the right and the left, and even some of the academic understanding that you really need to have before we can dive deeper into these issues and can make some sense out of the modern parties, politics, and the ideological basics that shapes them. My goal here is to be as balanced as I can, act as academically as I can, to the extent possible, remain objective. So more importantly, I want people to understand the ideological basis and the origins of modern discourse. So stick around for more on the Radical Moderate. And thanks so much for watching. And until the next video, let's save this country.